It's been a long week, right? Are you ready to wind down? Why not? It's time for the Wine Time Fridays podcast with Shelley and Phil. Neither are sommeliers, but both have a deep passion for life, each other, and of course, delicious wine. And now, here to talk about this week over a glass of wine is Shelley and Phil. It's wine time.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Wine Time Fridays with Shelley and Phil. Less Shelley for the second week in a row. She is not feeling well. So you know what? I'm not even going to bring the wine bell this week. That's her job, and it feels dirty for me to use the wine bell. So happy Friday, April 29th, episode 210. Happy Friday. It's wine time. And we have got with us today, you don't know this, MJ, but I am introducing you today as MJ Love, Peace, and Hot Grease Towler.
Oh, did I use that one of my signature? Yes, yeah.
Yes, you did. All I know is I heard that and I'm like, oh, that's going in. Love, Peace, and Hot Grease. Formerly the Black Wine Guy, because only like in the last 3 weeks, there's been a rebrand. And this is a better rebrand than when Elon Musk did with Twitter over to X. That was a stupid rebrand that never should have happened. MJ, welcome to Wine Time Fridays. Thank you for being here. And why don't you, go into a little bit of the story behind the Black Wine Guy experience, why the name came around, and then why the pivot as I open my first wine.
Awesome. Well, Phil, thanks for having me, first of all. I appreciate it. Really cool to be here. You are a legit podcaster. 210 episodes. That's no joke.
210. 210.
Like I know what it takes. That's a lot. That's
well,
legit.
I'm going to tell you that I was in ICU for 16 days in 2021 with COVID, and I did 3 episodes. No Shelley, no wine bell, and no wine. Basically, episode 69 was one of the highest listened to episodes we had, which pissed me off because there was no wine. And so finally got enough listens on other ones that pushed it down the list. But it's always been, we've never missed a week. There's 1 week where we worked up against the clock on Friday. Mm-hmm. We publish on Friday. Mm-hmm. I actually recorded something that said, hey guys, this is Phil. It was 45 seconds. This is a placeholder for this episode. And so then I went back and then put the right audio in. But yeah, we've not missed a week, which is, as you know, very, very difficult to do. But we're very proud of it.
Absolutely. You should be proud of it. So the Black Wine Guy, I will retain that Instagram handle. I will retain. I have blackwineguy.com, theblackwineguy.com. I'm Black Wine Guy on X and TikTok and wonderful wine, Phil Lane. However, the podcast got started in 2020, and I've come from a different angle with this, and my angle was I used to listen to Tim Ferriss show religiously.
Yeah.
It's a good one to listen to. I used to listen to Rogan for a while, and then he just got too long and a little too crazy for me.
3 hours on average. No script, no anything, just dives right in.
But my show is kind of modeled after those two. Those are without a doubt the 2 most successful podcasts in the history of podcasting.
Sure.
And the first press I got after I launched, R.H. Drexel wrote a wonderful piece about me. I want to shout out R.H. and jebdunnick.com. It was calling Chatting with MJ Towler, the intersection of wine and music. Because I got known, I was just playing around on Instagram, making fun of influencers. I never showed my face for a long time. I would my bottles in my hands, and I would review the wines. Every review started with some type of song lyrics. Sometimes it would be like I have an Echolands Grenache from Doug Frost. So it might be a song from Echo and the Bunnymen, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes there's a song that's just right on point with the wine. Sometimes it's one lyric in my head. I taste the wine and I don't know, that song comes to me. So that's how I got started. So it was always
sure.
And I got started with a producer had reached out to me on Instagram who had worked in unscripted television. And so, when you're sitting there creatively, I've never done this. And the idea with the Black Wine Guy experience, Black Wine Guy that's also me. Some people, it's not a political statement that some people think it is. It's actually funny to me. And it's funny to me that in the late 90s, when I started in wine, that people were, I don't want to get political and political correctness, but like, look, there was one black dude at the tasting. You don't have to describe him like a police description. He's 5'10", this much weight. He went to Rutgers for graduate school. He had these guys. If you just said, "Oh, who was that black dude?" He knew a lot about like that. Then it would have like so. For me, it was permission. Like, it's okay. You can say who was the black guy at the wine event.
It really has been really interesting how this thing has all kind of gone out of whack. I'm going to go public with this. I've played sports for many years. I played with a lot of guys that were African American. Okay, a lot, and they were my teammates.
Yep.
I never used that as
That's how I grew up. Exactly. That's how I grew up.
Okay. I guess I was probably wrong when I say I don't ever really notice. Of course, everybody notices. I know people notice me because I'm bald. Okay. So but that is not a descriptor. That is not a personality trait or anything. And I so appreciate hearing that from you, because right now there's just all this angst and just horrible stuff going on out in the world. And we've said our piece. But thank you for that, but I'm going to take that as a opportunity to toast, to health, wealth, and abundance, gratitude, romance, even though Shelley is not here, and peace on earth, which is one of ours. Don't say that when I'm sipping.
And so
MJ said he's spitting.
Right, but I'm spitting right now, but I mean, it is 6:00. I mean, shit's about to happen. I'm just trying to.
I'm saying it's 3:00 where I am.
Well,
so
listen, that's part of what we do. I mean, I've had, listen, I'm coming. Actually, I will be in Walla Walla, Washington when this episode drops.
Really?
At Hospice de Rhone, yes. So.
Really? How long are you going to be in Walla Walla? We might need to make a trip.
I'm arriving on the 24th, and then I'm leaving on Sunday, late Sunday.
The 28th.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we need to get together with long shadows anyway. So I'm working with Gilles with getting some long shadow stuff going.
Oh, Gilles awesome. I met Gilles amazing.
He is amazing. He's the nicest guy. Just our schedules have crossed. But man, this is behind the scenes at Wine Time Fridays, working in almost real time. I love it. So yeah, when this drops, you will be in W2, as we like to say, Walla Walla.
And so so coming from seeing podcasting from that lens, Ferris, Rogan. And then the music background, we were going back and forth. And so, Black Wine Guy experience, Jimi Hendrix experience, Joe Rogan experience. So I was like, okay, this works, right? Because
Gary V experience.
And we all, the reality is we all experience events differently. We all experience them in our mind and our perception. So there literally is a black wine, and I listen, I will say this too. I've been thinking about it. That I don't know, but I'm thinking about, but studying. There's a person that most people have never heard of, Dewey Markham Jr.
Oh, good. I thought you were going to say me.
Black man who wrote a pretty definitive book on the Bordeaux classification of 1855, way back in the late 80s or early 90s.
Yeah.
And so I was like, so Dewey is probably really the original, the OG black wine guy. But
MJ's part 2.
Yeah, but for the purposes, like I know I was the first African American to be a fine and rare wine auctioneer. I was one of two, usually at a tasting. And so, when I actually started on social media, people just come up with these freaking weird names, man. And it was just simple. I couldn't believe, like, I didn't get into the wine vertical until about 2017. And I couldn't believe there was people like the Chocolate Somm, the Nubian Somm, the,
don't get me wrong, chocolate and Cabernet Sauvignon go very well together.
I agree with you. There's all this. There's people go, red wine and chocolate don't go well together. Well, maybe you are using the wrong gummy. I don't know, but they seem to go well for me. Yeah. So I was like, how did no one take black wine guy? I was like, how was that available? And I was like, black wine guy. It just went back to this. I remember this one woman I met, and she said, "What do you do?" And I said, "Oh, I do this." She said, "Oh, you're a wine guy." And this is like a year in the business. Like, oh, I never even thought of that. Yeah, I guess I'm a wine guy. And then so when I was like, well, black wine guy. It's very simple. People think
it does roll off the tongue too. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was, but for me, it was about. It is always about enjoyment. It's about pleasure.
Have fun.
And I was gonna call it Beats, Vines, and Life originally, and finally, it. What's that word? It can be scary to rebrand, right? So
it is scary, especially when you've built up a successful first brand.
Yeah.
But what got you to change your mind and say, you know what, I think I'm ready to go to what I originally wanted to do?
Yeah. Well, because I've been after. I don't know how much you've invested in your podcast, but I now no longer have any type of 401k. But
that can get built back up.
Exactly. Well, that's the thing, right? So if I'm making a play,
you can always make more money. You can't make more time.
Exactly. And I think from a lot had to do with a lot of my favorite interviews are people who are what I call wine adjacent, right? Wine is taken popular culture by storm. As you have on a Seattle Seahawks jersey, I intend to be sitting down with Sidney Rice when I come out to Walla Walla of Dossier.
Yeah, that's I'll tell you something right now. I only found out like a month and a half ago that he's got a wine brand. So a quick diversion, just so that you know, because you're a music guy, you're a sports guy, and you're a wine guy. These are all my wheelhouses.
Yeah.
And so we actually have a couple of series on Wine Time Fridays. One is Women in Wine, where we bring on women winemakers, winery owners, things like that, because it's very cool that they're making their way in to the wine business. I love that. We also have From Games to Grapes, where we actually take, like, for instance, Drew Bledsoe, Damon Heward. They both have wines out of Walla Walla, or Damon's out of Bothell area, Woodinville, but they're from Eastern Washington. So we had them on an Apple Cup episode, which was a lot of fun. And so Sydney Rice is one. Charles Woodson is one. I almost got John Elway. Instead, I got his agent, Jeff Spurbeck. But, so there are so many of these players, ex-players. Wayne Gretzky, I've had some of his wine. It's not the best. I don't know if we want to get Wayne on, the great one.
Yeah.
Have you had that wine?
No, I haven't had his wine. I am always suspect of celebrity wine. I start suspect, right? That's where I start.
Yeah.
And like, so I've interviewed Josh McDaniels, who's Drew's partner. Love Josh.
Yep.
Great freaking
He's
guy.
also was the coach of the Raiders at some point, or maybe just two guys with the same name.
Yeah, two guys with different name. Yeah.
Like Chris Peterson. Chris Peterson's the winemaker at a passing time.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting. So Josh McDaniel.
But so like a lot of my favorite conversations were with wine adjacent people. So JJ Redick, NBA analyst, had a great conversation with him. He's a Berg hound, he loves Burgundy. He knew, not that I know a lot, but he knew way more about Burgundy than I did. So
good for him. That's awesome.
And then Isaiah Thomas was a great conversation, who owns a champagne house, Sherlin. Shout out to Isaiah. And
which Isaiah?
The real Isaiah, the bad boy.
Okay. The bad boy.
NCAA champion, 2-time NBA world champion, Detroit.
Well, the Isaiah Thomas from the University of Washington wasn't a saint either, but but he wasn't the original.
I'm not talking about criminal shit. I'm talking about on the court, man.
Touche.
Yeah,
Touche.
Back when athletes seemed not to get in trouble with the law. Wow.
Yeah, and the NBA is really, really bad that way. Hopefully they clean that up. Football is not much better, but it is better. But yeah.
So I found these conversations are fascinating, and then also, as I got into doing this, there comes a point where you and I've said this before. I'll say it again. You're a real podcaster, 200 episodes. Most people don't need to have a podcast. I get it. Like, oh, I have my voice now, but there's podcasts I can't get past. The person starts talking and I'm done because their voice is just not pleasing. Because it's an audio. The medium is audio. Now I use video and everything, but by and by, this is talk radio, right?
It is. Yeah.
Do you have a voice for that, right? Like Fran Drescher would never be on the radio. Right? There's a reason why. Because you like when you watch The Nanny, you're like, well, she's hot. I can't take that voice, but if I could just get her to shut up, I can just look at her. This is all about how our tonality and everything. Right?
Oh, I know. I get it. And that's why and this didn't, make the cut. I edited it out. But when you first came on, you said, man, you got a great voice. That means a whole lot to me. It really does, because nobody thinks they have a decent voice. And I only be me. I can't talk like this, like an FM. That's just not me. Right. So the fact that my normal voice is somewhat palatable for the year, I'm okay with that.
Yeah. That was a thing for me too. When I first recorded the my intro and I played it, first of all, I played for myself. I'm like, damn, that's how I sound. Because I don't even right now, I don't sound how this is going to sound. In my head, it doesn't sound, I don't have a great voice. I constantly hear that now. But
you do.
But it's in here, it's not, right? But when I heard that first recording, people were like, oh my God, you're a professional. And all I did was record now for one episode. I was like, they're like, that's how you talk. I'm like, Well, yeah. I mean, I was just. I mean, I'm like, I had a script and I read it, but I wasn't
Yeah.
trying to particularly. I grew up. I mean, yes, we make voices. I make voices. I can be funny. I make voice. Hey, I do all that. That's fun. But like, and yeah, when we first talked, because we have not talked. Did we get on the phone? I don't know if we email, but like, I was like,
We did
man,
have a conversation.
yeah, I was like, you got a great voice, right? And then there's a couple other people, John Myers, who works with the Sam Couture. They have a great podcast, Winemakers Pod. John Myers was in radio. And so when a radio guy is like, MJ, you got a great voice, that makes me feel good, right? Like when someone
I
says
know.
that, like
Yeah.
who
Because that's
actually
some credibility, right? That's some
exactly.
credibility from someone in the business. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, the pivot was like, yeah, I mean, there's some quote, I don't know, the Upton Sinclair who said it, but the greatest thing, or TSL, like you can to grow up to who you're supposed to be. Like this was, I'm not at this point in my life, I'm not going back to even get a WSET one because I have a pretty vast amount of wine knowledge.
Yeah.
The only people who know more than me, most people, I won't say only, I'm still in the top 1%, but I'm not trying to work in a restaurant at my age at 55. I want to be a son.
Oh, you're a kid. You're a kid.
I'm not, so I don't need it. I'm already over educated enough. I have a JD. I have a JD I don't use. Right. So let me go get some wine certificate. I'm not paying for any more education, I guess is what I'm saying.
No, you got to build back up that 401k, dude.
Exactly. And so for me, the people, it's about having fun. I think I said that. So it was like, who do I think is cool that I want to drink wine with? And I'm really getting more back to that because I've had a modicum of success and I'm grateful. Yeah. I get pitched all the time and I'm like, unless they want to come on and talk about their life, look, people can read text sheets. I don't need them to come on and regurgitate the text sheet. I want that nugget.
But you know what, MJ? That's what people want to hear. They want to hear the stories. The stories, every story out there is its own unique story. That's what this is all about. If Shelley and I can help educate people about wine, that's great. But it's really about the stories. Tell me a story about what you are tasting on that. You say Echoland?
No, actually, I went with Liminal.
Okay.
2020 Weather Eye Vineyard Syrah. So I mean, I love wines like this because then I can piss people off. Man, this wine is black AF. It's just got black fruits and black olive. And
for those of you at home that don't know what AF, it's as fuck.
Yeah,
I can say that Shelley's not here.
Yeah, you can say. I mean, I love Washington State is so underrated still to this day.
Still young. I mean, it's still young.
Yeah,
really.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, what 60s maybe?
Well, no, probably more like, late 80s, really ramping up. They've been growing
ramping up. But I'm saying even if you said the 60s, you got to think California was 1860s is my whole point, right? That's really
yeah, for sure. Yeah. But yes, I believe underrated. People are obviously taking note. It's grabbing attention. I've said this for probably 5 years. The California market has been so overpriced. Napa and Sonoma so overpriced and because of the real estate and all of that. And Washington quality is underpriced. It's going to level out at some point. It will meet somewhere close. California probably still be a little more expensive than Washington, but the quality difference is they both have quality wines by every measure.
100%. And I believe Weather Eye is a relatively new vineyard and it's mountain fruit. I have not visited. I do have a friend, shout out to Mikal, who's a photographer who visited, and he texted me. He was like, "You have to." He's like, "I know you've been here like 3 or 4 times. Have you been to He's like, "You had." He's like, this is one of the most beautiful vineyards I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
And good friends, Todd and Carrie Alexander. Todd's been making fruit out of Weather Eye. Travis of Kobayashi gets some Weather Eye fruit. So I've had the opportunity. So the liminal was great because they sent me a box of stuff for last year's Grenache Fest, and this actually is a bottle I've had in my cellar for a year. I drank the Grenache, but this Syrah, and I actually Coravanned it, the other night. And I mean, but just a beautiful color. Look how dark, I mean, that's just coming in.
It's gorgeous. We got a Coravin this December. Shelley's daughter sent her one. Have yet to use it. Do you find that to be really helpful? To like for you, you're again trying to scale back a little bit. I mean, we don't need. Sometimes we get into this trend where all of a sudden we're a bottle between Shelley and I will have two that we knock out.
Yeah, I know. It's easy for me. Listen, easy. Like 2020 and 21, 3 bottles were open every night, pretty much. Because I was like, depending on when I start consuming, a bottle is not hard for someone who is in this business to knock off a bottle. I once remember
that's true.
They asked Steven Spurrier, he's like, yeah, I'm sure I have at least a bottle to a bottle and a half a day, and so just wanted to get back in a little shape, and it's harder to get in shape as you get older, and your liver is either going to burn fat or it's going to burn alcohol. So I'm just trying to give my liver a little help.
Yeah, for sure.
But the Coravin, you're welcome for the free press, Coravin. Thank you for sponsoring the podcast.
You're not a sponsor for us either.
Exactly. But these guys should be a sponsor because I use these more than Coravin. Repour stoppers. You get them from Amazon. It's pack of 10. I love the Repour.
Yeah.
Because like you, there's about 15 bottles of open wine in my fridge. Luckily we have a second fridge.
So will you put the open bottle in the fridge and then take it because it's chilled, right? And then you'll take it out. What, an hour and a half?
Exactly. Yeah. Like I put a Coravin in
it on a red wine. Yeah.
Yeah, and I know what I want to drink, and I'll pull it out. And then if I don't, and then I'm like, damn it, I didn't pull it out. Then I have to open another bottle, and then there's another bottle in the fridge.
Oh damn!
Yeah. I was like, I need to have my friends over, like a black wine guy remnants party, just like have.
That's a great idea. That's a really good idea.
Invite your friends over. And these, I'm like you, I get sent wine. I'm very grateful. These are good bottles of wine. I mean, they're like,
I know.
I have no idea, but this liminal is not cheap. I'm sure this is over $50. It's probably between 50 and 75. I haven't looked it up.
Well, what I poured in my glass was the 2020 K Vintners Phil Lane. Nothing to do with me. Vineyard Syrah 75, and there you go right there.
Yeah,
that's $75. And so I get it. Hey, have you ever done an open that bottle night?
I mean, yeah, I try to. When I remember, Dottie and John have been on the podcast. They're great people. So like,
they're the best.
But open that bottle night could just be like, what did I have this year? I can't remember what I had this year. But yeah, I do. Oh, I pulled something. I have a lot of 2016s. I have a lot of 2016 stuff, which is great in California and great in Bordeaux. So I pulled something 2016 this year.
We opened a 2013 Barolo. And then a late harvest. Can't remember exactly what that we got in the Gary Vee Club that had been lying down for 4 years. And that was fantastic too. So those are, we like to tell people, make the wine the occasion. Don't let it go over the hill.
Yep. I'm a firm believer. I have a window.
Yep.
I don't like to go past like 12 years. Things start falling off for me.
12 years, my butt. Yeah.
Well,
we're like,
I'm just saying, like, Yeah, no, I agree. No, but that's most. But like, I have some wines that are now like the 2016s. They're 8 years old. I'm gonna
I
start knocking
know.
those off. I'm gonna start knocking
Yep.
those off because I for me, I've been to the tasting with the rich friends. Thank God for rich friends who have lots of money and collect wine.
You know, I'm sorry, touche for that. Touche. Yeah.
But
Just so
you're
you
there with
know,
their 30-year-old wine or 40-year-old wine, struggling to find a positive tasting note. You're like, this tastes like shit. Oh, you should have drank this like 25 years
oh,
ago.
I know. It's a travesty. It should never be that way,
Yeah.
ever. So you could have a black wine guy open that bottle night. We've never had more than 10 total people, including Shelley and I, because that gives everybody about a 2.5 ounce
Mm-hmm.
pour for every. We let everyone bring their own wine.
Mm-hmm.
What means something to them. It's so much fun. It's just so much. And then the last 2 times we had one of these get-togethers, each of them, when we opened through, tasted through their wine, they had to talk on the mic, and I put that into the episode.
That's great.
So
That's a very cool
yeah,
thing.
it's so much fun. So much fun. So you said something on one of your podcasts about German Pinot Noir and how you are falling in love with that. Am I wrong about that?
I said it's so funny. I'm mixing my European language. I said we, yes, in French. I totally.
I saw your face and you're like, oh no, did I get that wrong?
No, I was like, ooh, yeah, no. Like sometimes, in the heat of passion, your face is not always smiley. Like when something's good, something like, ooh, So I was like, ooh, yeah,
trust me, my face is always smiling.
German Pinot, ooh, one of those faces.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've known about it for as long as I've been in the wine business, but it's one of those things like Oregon Pinot Noir where it had to mature.
Yeah. But they're completely different Pinots. Yeah.
Yeah, no, but and when I say I joke because when I first started in the wine business in '97, there was all the buzz about Oregon Pinot Noir, and all the ones I had, the vines weren't that old, they weren't that rooted, they were really stemmy to me, not the type of wines I enjoyed. Now the vines have grown, they've matured, and they're producing outstanding. But to the point about Spätburgunder or German Pinot Noir, and the sad thing is it's climate change is why the wines have.
I mean, it's playing its part.
Yeah,
it's why these champagnes that are coming out of Champagne are actually seeing some competition from
England.
I know that's got to piss the French off.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, so you have that, and there's more dry Rieslings now because they can get it fully ripe. They can get it fully ripe.
Yeah.
So they can go through fermentation and get the sugar out and finish it dry. So I think the same has happened in Germany, and just I don't again fortunate. I'll get one of my guests, Robert Dentis, aka Soil Pimp, largest collector of German wines in America. Has these events called Riesling Study, and he recently started Spätburgunder Study. But at every Riesling Study, he'd bring some crazy Spätburgunder, and I've had Stephen Bitteroff from Von Boden, German importer, and then most recently, when I said that in the podcast, that was Jenna Fields, who is now the president of the German Wine Collection, and she brought a 9-year-old German, Spätburgunder Pinot Noir, single vineyard. It was stunning. Particularly when you're talking about a comparison to Burgundy because of, Germany. If you ever seen pictures of the Moselle, some of these places, the vineyards are treacherous, right? And The
It's like
wines
some
are
of those in Italy, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so yeah, and what it becomes is I can't afford Burgundy. I'm so happy. I think I put in one of my emails, just like not a podcast email, but I like it might have been about it was a Spey Burgunder. It was like $20. It's crushable, right? Like everybody wants a good $15 to $20 Pinot Noir
Because you can't find them.
because you can't fucking find it.
They are nowhere to be found. There for a while, Miami was okay, and then they got bought out, and now they went up in price and down in quality. So it's like,
Yeah.
no, to find something between 15 and 20 bucks that's decent,
Yeah.
very difficult.
And then some of these wines, it might be $40. If that shit was from Burgundy, it's $250 for that quality wine.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
So that is and it's just always fast. So it's just fascinating. Because you say Riesling to 99% of the population. Oh, I don't like sweet wine. What are you talking about? Couple things. First of all, not all Riesling is sweet. Second of all, have you ever had a Spätlese? Have you ever had an Auslese? Have you ever had it with something fatty like foie gras? Have you ever had it with spicy food? Do you
ever
not
had
know that some of the greatest
Sancerre?
wines in the world are sweet wines? Okay,
Yeah.
so I mean, but that being said, these Spey Burgunders are just beautiful. They're just like there's some that are just powerful and some that are just erythral and elegant. Very you're like, hey, Fräulein, very, 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 very just beautiful. Heidi Klum-esque, you know what I mean? Claudia Schiffer type wines, you know?
Do you remember the very first, what I would ask to be your gateway wine? The wine that you like, wine's okay. And then you drank it and like, holy shit, I've never had anything like this before. Do you remember what that might have been?
That's a great question.
I have my moments.
I know we all do who do podcasts, right?
Few and far between, but I do have them.
I would say, I will say this, one that always comes to mind because I had the opportunity to have great wines, but I remember having, I think what cemented Grenache as a wine, as the grape that I love. I'm like John Mayer. Love. You know,
Like a Beatles tune too.
Yes, was a 1990 Henri Bonneau Cuvée de Celestin Reserve. Because back in the day, when you had wine merchants before the mega merchants, you know, that we now have, dudes would go to Europe like Kermit Lynch and buy barrels from people. And there was a guy in New Jersey, legendary retailer, Carlo Russo, and not Carlo Rossi, Carlo Russo. And Carlo went over to the Rhone and was friends with Henri Bonneau. And Parker had given his Cuvée Celestins 100 points. And he had a few barrels, and Carlo got a reserve barrel of the 100-point wine just for him to sell. And I got it from a guy I worked with. But he probably sold that wine for like $25. It's probably ridiculously cheap, right?
But he actually shipped the barrel over?
No, he had him bottle it and ship it
over.
Okay.
That makes much better sense.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't want
It's not like an aquavit where you're going to put it on the bottom of the ship and let it rock.
Not yo ho ho and a bottle of rum type thing. You know, we're gonna
well, that makes a lot better sense.
Yeah. But I had that at this epic wine dinner in 1999, and I long story short, that wine was just like, it was like, whoa. I was and you know, this was at a dinner that we had a couple of Screaming Eagles. We had 82 Cheval, which I love. That's another wine.
Yeah, but I mean, same night.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was our Millennium dinner. We had Marcus and Sharp. We had everything. 76 Grange. I remember from that night. Outstanding.
Wow.
But the Bonneau, everybody was like, "Yo, that was the wine of the night."
And it was a 90. Do you remember what year the dinner was?
99. So it was 9 years old.
99. So it was 9 years
It was
old.
10 years
Probably.
old. It was 9, 10 years old. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, perfect time.
And that's all. And that
up.
became my zone, right? I'm like, yo, this is a good zone. So that kind of, but I mean, if you want to go back, I mean, I think a bottle, to give some perspective, people, was when I first started the wine business, not knowing anything about wine and learning about it on the fly. And my first week was over. I was going out to dinner, and I said to Michael Capon, who owned the shop, I'm going out. I'm going to have duck. He's like, here, take this. It was like $7 or $8. Rabbit Ridge Barrel Cuvée Zinfandel from Sonoma County. And that might have been it. Duck with a butternut squash puree and pumpkin pancakes, whatever the hell I had with that, man. And Zinfandel was like
off the chart.
A revelation of food and wine. And it was $7 that bottle of wine, $8.
There are really good value wines out there still to this day, and I'm on a quest to find each and every one of them.
Absolutely.
So you brought up Grenache. You have an event coming up here in November. I don't know if it's your event, but you are going to be the MC of the event. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to think. I mean, I never want to step, but it was conceived by my good friends Carrie and Todd Alexander, and I'm probably gonna say it was more Carrie than Todd on that one because Todd's busy making wine. But Carrie came to me and she said, well, "Let's do something," and we did it last year, and it's a one of a kind wine event. It really encapsulates beats, vines, and life. We did this thing. Sit down seminar. I think we had 200 people, which I moderated. We had Patrick Kaminsky was on the panel with me, and I can't remember the name right now, slipping my. You probably know him. He's from your way. And we had like 12 producers, 11 producers. Todd had 2 wines because he brought his Shadow Neuf, just as well. Which I call Beavis, which is not, it's Beatus, but I call it Beavis just to.
I just love to hear taste the butthead.
Yeah, exactly, right, exactly. And then his name is Todd, and Todd was the
God.
It's like Todd's cool. So I always make that joke with Todd and Gary. I'm like, hey. I'm like,
I hear Todd. I'm like from SNL when Gil Radner's like, Todd.
Oh my God, yeah.
Pull your pants up. We don't want to show everybody your crack.
Yeah. Oh my God. So good. And so we did this. It was about seminar and then concert, right? It was beats and vines, and last year we had Stephen Malkmus from Pavement, and we had M Ward and Mark Pickrell, and M Ward is our music coordinator this year. So we don't know who our big guest is. He's working on some people, but it's fun, and you go to most events. And they are, I mean, it was a seminar. And this year's going to be even better because I was trying to be like, I don't know that. I'm like, okay, I want to give people what they want. I don't want to be too me because I can get silly and go off the rails. And there might be people who want to be really serious. But after we feedback, look, if you come back this year, just know it's going to be a whole lot of MJ's just personality coming through as
Shelley and I are hoping to be there. If we can get anybody from that event to respond in email, we would love to volunteer. But I'll tell you what, that first event, you're always trying to read the crowd a little bit. It's the inaugural event. You don't have a data point to pull from.
Right.
And so I think it's human nature to kind of pull back a little bit and read it because you have look, you start with your C game, you can go to your B and A, but you want to just keep people coming back, right? You always want to go a little conservative, I guess.
Yeah, no, I think I mean, there were people I know who came because I was moderating. So they were very familiar, right? And I
Yeah.
had been to Walla Walla twice and did events before that. So I
Okay.
think people had a sense of who I am. And that's why I love working with Todd and Carrie, because they're like, do you say fuck, do you be you, right?
Yeah.
Um, but then I go to like another wine seminar, and it's boring as fuck because they're all everybody like, it's too serious. Or like, come on.
Like, I mean, you got to be yourself. I get to be an MC for like 2 days for a big Rotary conference here in Coeur d'Alene, and I'm co-emceeing. And so I told him right off, it's like, I got to be myself. Okay, I can't be somebody that I'm not. And so we'll see how that turns out.
Yeah,
Do a little bit of research and get a mic in front of me, and I'm like, okay, let's have some fun.
Yeah, I'm like, and you said something earlier, and I think it's pertinent to, I don't kind of turn this back to podcasting, I guess. Just the podcast be like to bring things around. The Rogan model of like, I have like, where'd you grow up, siblings, what'd your parents do? I have like these little just reminders.
Sure.
But I'm like unscripted as hell because it's a conversation, and consequently I'm wanting to give people a place where they can share about themselves, because most interviews are very targeted. The interviewee has an agenda, and they're going to get through their questions, and you're going to answer them because this is what I think is important.
You saw my show notes.
Yeah.
They're just an outline. They're like, what happens if MJ shuts up for 30 seconds and I have nothing at the top of my head? I can look down and I got a question, locked and loaded. But I didn't really think that was going to be the case today. Having just heard a number of your podcasts, I only listen to podcasts really that are conversational. The scripted, they don't interest me at all. And so that's what this is modeled after. And I appreciate that yours is modeled after. You have mentioned fun a lot. What do you see some challenges of making wine education fun and approachable, or has it been pretty easy for you?
Well, you said this as well. I don't particularly think my podcast is educational, but people say, man, I learned a lot on your podcast. So that makes me happy, right? Because then I am achieving.
Organic.
If I tried to achieve it, I wouldn't. I bet you I wouldn't.
Right.
Because then I would become too formulaic, right?
Yep.
And so how it's achieved is by enjoying myself and having a glass of wine with someone that I am finding interesting, or in some cases that I've had to make seem interesting.
I mean, look, this is a part of being
a host, right?
Yeah, good host. It's part of that. If you see something going a direction that you'd rather not it go, you have to somehow rein that in and make it seem natural, or you have to cut the whole damn thing out. And I've had to do that on a couple of occasions, but not often, Yeah. So it's super important to be organic to me. Do a little bit of business right now. The CDA Gourmet Wine Word of the Week is complex. Now, I don't think that I'm a very complex person. You have got a lot of complexities in your education and your history of what you're doing. So there's your yin and yang. But in the wine world, complex is a term used to describe a wine that exhibits a variety of interesting and interrelated flavors and aromas that evolve throughout the tasting experience. It goes way beyond a wine that's simply pleasant or easy drinking. This 2020 Phil Lane Vineyard Syrah from Vintners it's got some years left to go on it for sure. It's still young, but it's drinking just fine right now. $75. This would taste real. I'm getting a little gaminess in mine. And I know you didn't open yours, but
Well, I've had
that's
the K Vintner wines, and I've had the boy, and they actually do. I know they do some whole cluster. They do some stem inclusion, so I'm not surprised that you're getting the some that the more gamier
yeah.
characteristics. And please fact check me, people who listen to this. But what I remember from talking to my winemaker friends is that that if you get ripe stems, they actually are a somewhat better conduit of the terroir than actually
Interesting.
the grapes. So this is
Makes
not
sense, though,
gospel,
doesn't it?
but yeah, but you know, look, do
No,
your
I get it.
research.
I get it.
I just don't want people like, oh, that black wine guy said this, and listen, I'm just
He
listen.
doesn't know a damn
I
thing
drink a
about
lot
wine.
of wine and have a lot of conversations, and sometimes the lines get blurred.
Oh man, if I can just get it to sometime, that'd be good. It's most times with me. One of my last questions for you is, because honestly, people want to be spoon fed.
Mm-hmm.
Like when we pour at tasting events, they're like, and we'll have 18, 20 wines in front of us. And I'll say, what would you like to try? Well, I'd like to try your best wine. I'm like, okay, let's start down here. Is that your best wine? I'm like, I don't know. You'll have to tell me, right? They want you to spoon feed them the information. They don't trust their own palate. What advice would you give to someone who is interested in learning more about wine, other than the obvious thing is drink wine, right? Especially outside what you're used to.
Yeah. Do not under any circumstances get hooked on Burgundy, because you will go broke. No, that is
I was like, well, I think I know where this is going. Nope,
Yeah.
had no clue.
No, there really is. I can't think of better advice except to try a lot of wines and know that it's okay not to like a wine. That's
Yes.
what I say.
By the way, if you don't like a wine, like, okay, I'll go ahead and pick on Merlot because the movie did a great job of that. But if you don't like Merlot because you had a bad Merlot or one that you didn't like, that means you had the wrong Merlot.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yep. Another Merlot.
Right.
Yeah. So we had a Monastrell last night. And again, we're learning on this adventure as well. And this journey got to us last night, which is it's the same grape as Movedra.
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't know that. And so just learning stuff, it's hard to find a Monastrell in one sense, you know? And so some of the wines we did enjoy this week, Louis M. Martini Cabernet Sauvignon, Pacific Rim Dry Riesling, Lina della Suga Brunello di Montalcino, and a Myra Chardonnay, or Mira. I can never remember how to pronounce that, out of Napa Valley. So what are the dates for the Grenache experience or conference?
Okay, so it is called Grenache Fest. It's a fest. It's like, think of Lollapalooza with wine. Because I can't think of like a, it's not shot out to Napa. It's not Bottle Rock because it's Walla Walla. It's not all the sexy people from LA coming up to drink wine. It's just people who enjoy wine. Yeah. Just a bunch of cool people. And I love that area because it's you're pulling from Boise, Portland, and Seattle, right? Those are the cities that you're pulling from. And I love all those cities. They're really cool cities. So it's November 8th and 9th in Walla Walla, Washington.
For those keeping score at home, the November 8th is 3 days after my birthday. There you go.
And like I said, it's going to be a sit-down seminar with a concert following it. We, food. The next day, I believe we are working on a Garnacha, so a Catalonia seminar specific. We're working on that, plus some type of walk around tasting. And I just, I believe tickets have gone on sale. But the thing to do is go to grenagefest.com. I
They're in the show
know
notes.
in the show notes, Carrie will be reaching out to people who want to volunteer. I have people who've talked to me that. So if you submitted, you're on the list. She's just working on that.
Beautiful.
But listen, it is, if you like music and you like wine and you like red wine, and also we have Grenache Blanc, but like if you want to, it's the most fun I've been fortunate to go to a lot of events. I've never been to Bottle Rock. I said, but like I've been to some epic tastings. I've been to some epic concerts. But this is a place where two things that come together and around and pretty much in this country an unheralded grape, right?
Right. Yes.
Like the most planted variety in the world for a long time.
Washington's producing some great Grenache.
And Washington is making some great Grenache. So yeah.
Something tells me that any event or festival that MJ is at is epic. And so you will want to because of that alone, and then you're going to have a great time. You are you redirecting from blackwineguide.com, or are you going to keep that going even?
Yeah, no, someone else. It's been great when you do things like this. I'm fortunate for people who will reach out and say, hey, like someone emailed me and I have Beats, Vines, and Life and is redirecting, but I might have too many things redirecting. So, still, you can still go to blackwineguy.com, right? Because I am the Black Wine Guy.
That's not going to probably change anytime soon.
I saw The Jerk the other day, Steve Martin. Phil, you mean I'm going to stay this color? I love that.
It's one of the best lines in the entire movie.
Yeah.
Yes.
Even your wife, you mean I'm going to stay this color?
That is awesome. That is like the best line in the entire movie.
It really
it's a movie chock full of great lines.
Exactly. I would say in Black Wine Guy on Instagram, go follow Beats, Vines, and Life on Instagram, because I'm going to be doing more posting over there as the show goes. And the idea is to take the show on the road, right? So when I go to Walla Walla, I want to do with this kind of like what Bourdain did with food. It has a background for conversations with really cool people. And there are great people in wine, but there's also just great people around the world who enjoy wine. And there's more people around the world who enjoy wine than there are, no diss on wine, than there are just great people in wine. Like we don't have a monopoly on the great people of the world, right? So
exactly.
And I want to reach those people and hear their stories. And I'll just say, whether you are religious or not, there's only one beverage in the first book ever written, and it's wine. There's a reason for that.
It sure is, which is fantastic. I was going to say, we are one of my goals for this podcast is to actually get a sponsorship from a RV dealership and take Wine Time Fridays on the road through wine country. Now, I'm not sure if that shows well, having a Wine Time Fridays on the side of a truck.
You just have to have a driver. You just have a designated driver.
That's right. So a couple things coming up. We mentioned Oregon wines, right? The Pinots, Gris and Noirs. In May is Oregon Wine Month. It's also Aussie Wine Month. In May 3rd is Sauvignon Blanc Day. 17th is Pinot Grigio Day. 23rd, thank you to Rick Backus. Chardonnay Day. Actually, 2 Chardonnay days. There's a World and International. Don't ask me why. 24th of May, the anniversary of Judgment of Paris. I always mention that because it's so important, even though we probably won't have a Stag's Leap or a Chateau Monteleno this year. The 25th is Every Day, National Wine Day. And then June is Idaho Wine Month. And we're going to have Luke. And we're going to have Luke. You're getting choked up because of Oregon Wine Month.
I was. I'm really emotional about it.
I can see why. We're going to have Luke Marquez with Molly Duker in May. Super excited about that. Next week, Ron Sharman with Fly with Wine is coming on.
Oh,
we're going to
him. Love Ron.
Yes. We have, hang on. I think I have it right here.
Yeah.
We saw him on Shark Tank, and I'm like, we need to get him on. So reached out. He's coming on. But we ended up buying this thing.
I love it.
It's what we travel with wine glasses now.
Yeah, I have to get that. He actually gave me I met him at the DTC last year, and he gave me the 2-bottle and the 12-bottle. But I am that guy, right? Like, yeah, I think wine is fun, and I joke and I fucking curse and blah blah blah. But don't fuck with my glassware, man.
I know. Traveling with wine glasses is the worst. So Shelley says we are not wine snobs. We are wine glass snobs. We have Andrew Robinson's The One Wine Glass with us whenever we're on the road.
Yep.
And we've got an 8-bottle suitcase from Fly with Wine. And we're going to have a lot of fun with Ron. He's a great guy. Huge thanks to Eternal Wine and Coeur D'alene Fresh for today's sponsors. By the way, MJ, thank you so very much for being here today. And who knows, man, we might be connecting this weekend in Walla Walla. I don't know if the moons will line up or not, but who knows? At the very least, we will hopefully meet you in person in Walla Walla in November. So
I look forward to it.
With a little bit of knowledge, wine becomes a lot less overwhelming. Thank you again, MJ, for being here. Continued success with your new branding, and we'll see you guys next week with Ron Sharman.
Thank you so much, Phil. Thanks for having me. Cheers.
Okay. How's it?
Thank you for spending part of your day to wind down with Shelley and Phil. Remember, you can listen to any episode of the Wine Time Fridays podcast by visiting winetimefridays.com or wherever you get your podcasts. And join us on our Wine Time Fridays Facebook page, Instagram, or on Twitter, which is @VintageTweets, for daily conversation. Until next week, here's our toast to you, to health, wealth, abundance, gratitude, peace on earth, and of course, romance.